As you can see, marshals are heading back out to the circuit as we get ready to go racing for the first final here this weekend. It's OK Junior Final. It's 18 laps, and that's coming up next. A reminder for everyone at home, it was Dries Van Langendonck who put it on the top spot for this one. It was only second in his superheats, but he is going to be starting this one on pole position. Niklas Schaufler, who is starting on the front row of the grid as well, just alongside Schaufler, having a really good weekend. 3 race wins for him. He had a good one, 5th, 2nd, and a 3rd as well. But the junior category, 12 to 14 years of age, 115 entries from 39 nationalities all the way from around the world. A superb entrance into all the categories. The displacement for the juniors, though, 125cc, 29 horsepower, and the minimum weight 140, including driver. That is kart, and kart without fuel 70 kilograms. So again, the karts themselves not that much weight, including the driver, nearly doubles. Tyres that they're using this weekend, well, it'll be the Maxi compound tyre, the MW that they'll be using, the Maxi Rain, the allocation that they've had over the course of this weekend, 6 tyres, all new set for the final, but they'll be using a brand new set of wet tyres for this one, the second set they'll have used out of the 2 they're allowed over this entire weekend. For the junior category, like we were saying, Dries Van Langendonck starting this one on pole position. It was a near perfect day for him over the course of that one. He is the one who led the championship standings on this one, the intermediate classifications, I should say, but championship points have been available for them. Schaufler was second in that from Costoya, Craigie, Coronel, and Kraeling rounding out the top 6 in the points. But how did they get there? Like I said, Dries Van Langendonck on that top spot yesterday, near perfect day. Pole position in qualifying. He had 6 qualifying heat wins. His first heat was only a P2. So I would say a fantastic weekend all round for him. Niklas Schaufler, who starts alongside him on that front row, near same story, 3 wins, a 5th, 2nd, and a 3rd. The Austrian Mouse doing a brilliant job to start on that outside row, and it looks like from that picture there that they have chosen to stay on their normal rows. No one switching for the start of this one. The second row of the grid, Christian Costoya. Costoya was one of the drivers who was looking like he could be the best going into this weekend. He had 5 qualifying heat wins, a 2nd, but his last qualifying heat, he suffered a 31st, an unfortunate retirement from that race. Then you've got Kenzo Craigie starting alongside him. Kenzo Craigie also with 3 qualifying heat wins, 2 second places, a 3rd, and then a P10 in his 4th qualifying heat. He qualified 4th overall, but certainly he's looking forward to seeing when he can start this one on the 2nd row. On the 3rd row, it's Rocco Coronel and Arjen Kraeling, 3rd and 4th in their superheats earlier on, but Coronel certainly had some good results over the course of the weekend. His favourite position was 2nd place. 5 of those, 1 win and a 3rd, but he's looking very, very strong. He will have Arjen Kraeling alongside on that 3rd row of the grid. Myself, Anthony Jordan, and Andrew Mather in the commentary box. Andrew, we're looking forward to this final, aren't we?
We are. This is going to be a very special race, I think, for the first final of the 2024 season here for OK Juniors in Champions of the Future. Dries Van Langendonck stood there waiting to get into the kart. Runner-up in this competition last year. Junior World Champion, of course, in 2023 as well. Very much been the driver to beat so far this weekend, but you know, he's been dominant so far. This weather, this wet track really throws it all up in the air, though. I would say it's easily the wettest it's been so far today. We started, if you're just joining us, we got here in the morning, bit damp on track, but no rain, to the extent that drivers ran dry tyres in the warm-up. Then the first bout of rain came. Through the superheats we've seen this morning, that it dried out a bit. We almost got to the changing point. Well, we did get to the changing point, didn't we? We got slicks back on. But then during the lunch break, before these finals, the heavens have opened again. And I can understand why they've chosen to go for the standard pole on the inside, 2nd on the outside, because the whole width of the track now is absolutely soaked. Have been very impressed by this driver, though, in the last 24 hours, Anthony. Niklas Schaufler has really fought back here. And has got some very good form. He's won the last 3 races that he's competed in, and is confident that he is going to be the driver to take things to Dries Van Langendonck and beat him. Only once this weekend, Dries Van Langendonck has been beaten, but could do so again in this final. There's Christian Costoya. What a weekend he's had. had a bit of a moment yesterday trying to get started. It was even before the race had begun that Costoya had some drama, resulting in that lowly score in the last round. Missed out on the opportunity to take the lead in the intermediate classification. But I think if at the start of the week he'd offered him third on the grid in the final, he'd have taken that.
Yeah, I 100% agree for that. So, you know, he's still in a really good spot here, and he's got that inside row. Outside row, though, that will go to this man here, Kenzo Craigie from the United Kingdom. Second in his superheat earlier on, and again, he's had some really, really good results. 3 qualifying heat wins, 2 seconds the third, and of course, just that 1 P10 in his 4th qualifying heat. But qualifying overall was good. He qualified P4 over the 115 entrants into this weekend, so a really good qualifying for him. But again, he does start from that outside row. But in these conditions, it should be okay. Starting on the inside row of row number 3, it's this man here, Rocco Coronel from the Netherlands, the Victory Kart driver, who finished 3rd in his superheat earlier on. Again, another driver who's had some really good results. He's been plying it through the field. He's had some just top-end racing, but he's always been around there. But he's just been struggling to really get it right to that top spot there. Only the 1 qualifying heat win for him, mainly second places.
And off the pace a little bit, I thought, in the wet conditions that we saw in the superheats earlier on. There on your screens, number 83 of Nikita Nikishov. There is Arjen Kraeling, another one of the Kart Republic drivers. Had a strong run in the dry conditions yesterday and could do something there from 6th on the grid. We're looking to gain round the outside in the early stages of this one.
Certainly so. We'll have that company of Rocco Coronel alongside. Just behind them, though, they'll have the French driver, Thomas Pradier, the driver who finished 5th in his qualifying heat, the treble 1, starting this race in P7. For Pradier, though, good results. He's not come away with a win just yet this weekend, but he has certainly shown pace that would mean, I reckon he's got something in the bag that potentially means he could come away with a win this weekend. And if he does, it'll be in this final.
And I think this is the kind of race that Thomas Pradier, you know, the pressure's off. He's starting there on row 4. Eyes won't be on him straight away. But as you say, his race pace has been really good so far in 2024 when we've seen him race. And again this weekend. So, yeah, hopefully a good race in store for Thomas Pradier there. Alongside him on the 4th row is the only driver to have beaten Dries Van Langendonck so far this weekend, Filippo Sala. Things slipped away a touch in the latter rounds yesterday through the qualifying heats. We could just see Sala there, stood up to the right-hand side of your screens with the yellow and black helmet. There's a close-up of the young Italian and looks ready to go. I think can take a lot of confidence from the fact that he's had very strong race pace throughout all of the heats and the super heats as well. Hasn't always had the best of luck. That's why he's back here on row 4. But if the luck's on his side here in this one, he can win from there.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Sala was another one of those drivers who, at the beginning of the qualifying heats, looked like he was one of the strongest, you know, battling win for win against Christian Costoya. But it was only when he came to his 6th and penultimate heat, that's where he fell down at 27th or 28th in that result. So, yeah, really, really shame for that one. This young man here, Roman Kamyab, 4th in his superheat earlier on. Really impressed with Kamyab this weekend. Some really solid results, always been within the top 10. Best result being a P3. 2 of those, in course, 2 P4s, a P5, a 9th and a 10th. Those results still tough racing he had, but still some really, really solid results for the young driver. He will have the close company of Noah Baglin alongside. Noah finishing 10th in his qualifying heat. Starts this one P10. Baglin certainly has been a driver you need to keep an eye on because he's had really good results, but he's always been in around that mid-pack section. But right now, he finds himself on that 10th spot of the grid. That's a really good starting spot for them.
It is. We've seen in these longer races as well, drivers win from further back on the grid. Quick shot of Jacopo Martinezzi there in the number 4. Here's a close-up of Martinezzi, young Italian, 4th in the championship 12 months ago, or less than 12 months ago, at the end of 2023, and has looked bright. Did some good work on the tyre strategy to pull himself back into play here, and we rewarded off with that 6th row start. There is Niklas Schaufler in the kart now, the kart number 33 for the DPK Racing Team. Plenty of people taking up their vantage points around the circuit here at Kartodromo Internacional Lucas Guerrero for this first final of the day. It'll be, as I say, the longest race so far this weekend. Nikita Nikishov. Interesting situation, I think, for Nikishov. Another driver who I think has been a bit stronger in the second half of the heats and has had some good race pace. Was decent in the wet weather earlier today. Took a race win in the last round of heats towards the back end of yesterday. Had another shot there of Kamyab on the 5th row.
A little further back, you see Jarrett Clark here for the Forza Racing Team, starting this one P13 on that 7th row of the grid. Jarrett Clark always been in and around the thick part of the racing, and again, I suspect he will get involved in the thick part of the racing on this one as well. You know, many drivers in this one used to the wet conditions. Some drivers maybe not so much, but I think for everyone here, I think they're in the same boat. There's no pun intended with that one being very wet conditions out there, but certainly we are looking forward to it. 1 minute board goes up. Our new pre-grid officer, Robert Roos, he's not been replaced, don't worry, has our man Ross Upton. He's still here. He's doing some other duties for us over the course of this weekend as we get going racing for this one. Everyone will be keeping a very eagle-eyed view on all of this racing, no more so than our race director, Martin Bean, who will be on the gantry watching this racing very, very closely, in constant communication with the guys and girls in race control, keeping an eye with all the hundreds of cameras they've got around the circuit to keep our drivers nice and safe and in line as well, I would say. That being headed by David Manchester, Joanna Falco and Sara Blanco in race control, in constant communication with our race director, Martin Bean. The time is nearly upon us, with only about 30 seconds to go as the rain continues to fall here at Valencia for Champions of the Route round 1. It is going to be a very tough final. For our juniors, it's the longest race they'll have had this weekend. It's 18 laps. Here we go. It is the OKJ final for Champions of the Future as they head down in towards turn number 1. Let's take you through the full starting lineup. 36 drivers whittled down from, of course, that 115. Dries Van Langendonck and Niklas Schaufler on row 1. Christian Costoya and Kenzo Craigie on row 2. Rocco Coronel and Arjen Kraeling on row 3. Thomas Pradier and Filippo Sala, they go from row 4. From Rowan Kamyab and Noah Baglin on row 5. Jacopo Martinez and Nikita Nikishov go from row 6. From Jarrett Clark and Alfie Slater on row 7. Efim Duranov and Dean Hugendorn on row 8. With Joel Pokola and Florentine Atema on row number 9.
Christian and Sebastian Lehtimaki go from the 10th row of the grid. Bosco Arias and Devin Waltz have work to do from row number 11. Drew Waltz and Vladimir Ivanikov start this race from row number 12. Kasper Reipold and Sebastian Mins have had dramas so far this week. They start this one from row 13. Arthur Huang had a sizable incident in the superheat, starts this final from the 14th row of the grid alongside Danny Kelleher. Scott Lindblom and Andrea Marni start on row 15. Kit Bolowski's done well to race through after a difficult qualifying. Starts this one on row 16 alongside Alex Martinez. Bruno Grick and Mats Van Rooyen. Van Rooyen, who's also done well to overcome challenges and get into the top 36. They start on row 17. Archie Lovatt and Boris Lysen complete the 36 runners here in the first final for this new OK Junior season in Champions of the Future. 36 of Europe and the world's best racers about to take to the track in a racing capacity, but there's drama already, as that's the number 97 or the 57 of Andrea Marni going round and is already out of the race.
I think it's the 57.
It's the 97. It's the 97 of Andrea Marni for Forza Racing. Will not even see the start, spinning out there through the chicane. We saw the chicane earlier in the superheats be a very tricky part of the course. Just to put into context of how much more standing water is out there, I noticed as the carts pulled away, you could actually see the reflection of the front of Dries Van Langendonck's kart in the tarmac below. There's been a lot of water fall on the circuit in the last hour or so and will continue to fall across the course of this race. This is going to be, especially the first lap or so, very tricky for the drivers to keep it on the road.
Yeah, the rain radar there coming in very useful once more to confirm that it is raining. We can confirm that quite clearly from looking out the window. It is pouring down here at Valencia. Certainly not the conditions these drivers were expecting to be racing in when coming into the Valencia, especially at the start of spring as well. The Las Fallas Festival in Valencia, of course, in full swing at the moment, but right now, I'm sure that will not dampen their spirits. Into the tram lines we go then. For the first time, it's the finals. It is green flag for OKJ. Down towards turn number 1, Van Langendonck and Schaufler, the inside row. Schaufler with a run, goes long way round the outside, gets the switch back and takes the lead. What a drive there for Niklas Schaufler. He takes the lead but loses it almost immediately as down the inside the two make contact. And off the track goes Schaufler. He rejoins and they're still wheel to wheel with Van Langendonck. But Schaufler amazingly holds on to the lead of this final in the opening lap.
Well, we said it was about keeping it on the tarmac, as out of the race already is Archie Lovatt there in the number 44. So we're down to 34 karts already. There's also been problems for Vladimir Vanikov in the early stages of this one. I think Boris Lysen as well, but at the front, controversial moment there. The two leaders nearly coming together. Slight touch between them. Schaufler continues to hold the lead. Here comes Rocco Coronel round the outside of Costoya, going for third place. Good response from Costoya to retake it, but back again comes Rocco Coronel to retake third. Top two breaking away. Long race, of course. This eight. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Many karts off there. I think is that down at turn number 11. Who's in there? The number 72 is involved. That's going to be one of the Tony karts. It's Ile Christian. It's all karts in the midfield, I think, involved there. Hattemer, Arias, Devin Waltz was also involved. Casper Reibold, and that's Pradier. Pradier is off. Well, after having said it could be the race for him, starting 7th on the grid, he's out, and it's not even the end of lap 1. Griggs got going again in the Tony kart. Efim Duranov is under investigation as well. I think we're down to 27, and it's only the end of lap 1.
This is incredible stuff. This race is far from over, though. Schaufler leading, but only by 0.2 of a second as they'll come into yellow flags here. There are still karts being recovered off the circuit. There are so many drivers out, like you were saying, in the early stage of this one. We're down to 27 runners, and the number 12 of Bruno Grieg, who's up those 6 places at the moment at the back of the grid. Certainly for him, the fact that he was coming together with Thomas Pradier there is incredible. You know, Pradier starting 7th, Grieg starting 33rd, and at the end of lap 1, they've tangled up with each other. How on earth that happens, I've no idea. At the end of lap number 2, then they're back onto the start-finish straight. It's a clear breakaway. It's Schaufler from Van Langendonck, Rocco Coronel in tow in P3. Let's take a look back at restart, or at the start of the race. All fine through turn 1. Keep an eye on Schaufler, the orange kart on the outside row here. He takes the wide line here. Van Langendonck's got the inside, but watch him now. Finds the needle gap there straight through and goes into the lead. It's when they get into this next corner here, that's where it gets interesting. The tiniest bit of contact between the two of them. Van Langendonck on the inside here. Boom, there's the contact, and just off the track, amazingly, they both keep going, and they're still in this race. That's the most crucial thing, and there's more drama on the live feed. Yeah,
I think there's more recoveries going on there, as there is the number 97, Andrea Marni, out of the race. Span on the formation lap, and will go no further, of course. But look at this, the race at the replay.
Sorry, I thought it was the live pictures again.
But Schaufler and Van Langendonck still pretty close together out there on circuit. Coronel not too far behind in 3rd. Drivers have just got to stay focused here. We've got to remember that there's still another 15 laps of this race to go. Roman Kamyab popping across the curb there. It's had a decent start. It's up to 4th place. Dean Hugendorn. Keep an eye out for the Dutch driver for AKM. 5th place at the moment for Hugendorn. We're seeing a repeat of the performance we saw from him in the difficult conditions earlier on in the superheat. But right now, Niklas Schaufler, 1 minute 10.041. The pace, of course, is a long way down to what we saw this morning, but he is clear and gone 5/10 quicker than Van Langendonck and Coronel last time around.
Certainly so. Well, interesting developments all the way throughout the field, but eyes are fixated on this battle for P2. And Langendonck and Coronel line astern in that one. The gaggle of drivers that are now accumulating in Marshall Post 8 out there on circuit can only watch from the sidelines as they see these battles unfold in front of their eyes. Again, down the back straight, more drivers just coming into shot there in the background. You can still see Kamyab and Hugendorn, like you say, great starts from them, battling P4 and P5. They need to really focus here, because if it does kick off between these two, I think they'll lose Schaufler. They're not closing in on him. He's still breaking away now. The gap at 1.2, so actually no, 1.2, they took out 0.3 of a second from Schaufler that time around. Hey, it might not be over yet.
Not at all. That was a good third sector from Van Langendonck, fastest of anyone so far at the end of lap number 4. Other drivers also on the move. Kit Malowski has had a really solid weekend, a difficult qualifying, but every time he's come out on circuit, he's been overtaking people left, right and centre. That's 18 positions for Kit Malowski, up to 13th place now. He's also the fastest driver in sector number 1. Kamyab trying to hold on for 4th place here. Hugendorn nearly gets in the dirt there, going through turn number 8, but has got some good pace at the moment up on board the 102. The tricky thing here, though, in these conditions is how you find a way through. Well, that's an attempt from Hugendorn, but good driving from Kamyab, holds around the outside and retains 4th place.
It's just one of those really tough situations, isn't it? That when it's the wet conditions, you think, oh, that inside line, look, I'm alongside, and then you realise that they're on the outside, they're on the grippy part of the track, and they just floor it and they just drive away. There's nothing more disheartening than that one, but he's going to stick with it, is Hugendorn. He's going to be staying right on that rear bumper of Kamyab as they go through. Meanwhile, Costoya and Craigie in the background. Now, these two drivers, who started on the second row of the grid, find themselves down in P6 and P7. It's not been the start of the race that they will have wanted, and that's you can blame that on the wet conditions. You know, the spray that kicks up in front of you, it's really difficult to see as down the inside. Hugendorn gets it alongside, wheel to wheel, and Kamyab has to concede it. He looks back to the inside of that inside line, but Hugendorn might get the run on the exit. No, he can't get it, can't get the power down early enough. Kamyab holds on to it. All the meanwhile, Costoya is closing in.
Is indeed. There's a yellow flag out in sector number 3 as battle for second place going on. Coronel down the inside of Van Langendonck, does the switchback, does Van Langendonck, holds on to second place. I think it's Efim Duranov who's had a problem in sector number 1, has not come through the time check as expected. That would check out with a yellow flag at Marshall post number 3. Thing is, that back and forth between the Belgian and the Dutchman costing them time. Good lap there for Niklas Schaufler. In fact, it's a new fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 8.941. Remember, there is a point in play for fastest lap, which at the moment would give Schaufler the lead in the championship. Still very early stages, though, of Corse, 95 to 94, ahead of Van Langendonck. The gap back to nearly 1 point, in fact, beyond 1.7 seconds. Now they've gone through sector 1.
Yep, certainly so. Well, Schaufler continuing to break away. Confirmation of that fastest lap as Coronel back into second place, and this time that looks like that's for good. He's got it down the inside now and he's controlling the lead of this one. Is Van Langendonck going to look to the inside? No, not at this occasion. So that does change the virtual championship just that little bit more. Van Langendonck will go down a bit more, but Coronel will stay in third in the championship standings. But certainly will help him out to gain those extra few points, and actually might help him catch up to Schaufler. We're only about half race distance at the moment, well, nearing half race distance, got a couple of laps to go before that time. There is still time to close in to Schaufler here, but he's in a really, really comfortable spot here. He's clear by 1.7 seconds, so yeah, it did take 0.3 out on that one.
Indeed, this is going to be a key phase, I feel, for Rocco Coronel. He's clear of Van Langendonck now. What pace has he got? Definitely more pace than he had earlier on in the superheat, which was in wet conditions, but not quite as wet as what we're seeing now. Niklas Schaufler there, still your race leader. Remember, it's 50 championship points on the table for the drivers in this race, so it's basically a 50% share of the points available from this first round of the season. These finals so important for a championship bid. Niklas Schaufler lost a bit of time again in sector number 1, 17.6 that time around against a 17.484 for Coronel, the fastest sector 1 of anybody so far in this race. Coronel is charging here. We've been asking whether Victory Lane Karting could get a win here this weekend. They've been knocking on the door so far in 2024 at this level. They have got a really good opportunity here. Martinez going along very nicely as well. Has just taken some more time out of Hugendorn. Is sat there in 5th place. Still not, of course, in the second half of this race. Lots to be decided. There is Kit Bolofsky, the Fusion number 69, flying along now, getting 22 positions in this race. What a drive from Bolofsky.
Yep, certainly is. This is the 7th place train all the way down to, I think, around 16th place at the moment, being led by Filippo Sala. As we cut back to replay here, this is Filippo Sala clipping that curb, the same with the 25 of Roman Kamyab, all smacking that inside curb. You can see the big motions there. You can see some of the Kart Republics just in the background there. That was Arjen Kraeling and Noah Baglin also getting through. But yeah, you're right there. Kit Bolofsky, 22 positions gained. He's having an absolutely fantastic race. There's Kamyab going now defensive from Arjen Kraeling. Kraeling not able to get that kart down the inside. This is a big, huge battle. He's going to send it here, though, into the next corner. Kamyab to the outside will have the power, will have the traction, but not all of it, though, as, well, Kraeling amazingly manages to hold that position and moves up now behind Kit Bolofsky up into P9. So battles happening thick and fast all the way throughout the field. And look at the spray that's kicking up now for these drivers. That looked like a last late lunge there for Kamyab. This is Jacopo Martinez further up the order. This is the battle for P4 as Hugendorn is moving up the order here. Hugendorn having a really good race here, isn't he?
Yeah, super run for Hugendorn in the AKM entry. It could be a good duo here to close in on the top 3. We're into the second half of the race now. A switchback by Martinez going for 4th place. Has he got the drive off the corner? Can he get the positioning right? Yes, he can. Martinez through into 4th place. Has a snap of oversteer there as he hits one of the puddles. Look how much he's having to work at the wheel. You can see the softness of the chassis of these wet settings. The rear inside wheel picking up there through turn number 11. Kenzo Craigie not too far behind as well. Has got decent pace. New personal best for Craigie through sector 2 that time around. The rain is getting heavier though. The level of spray for the drivers increasing. This is a very, very tricky conditions. Let's have a look at that replay. This is going to be Martinez down the inside of Hugendorn. Good use of the curb there from the Italian. And his super positioning off the corner as well, knowing had to block a potential comeback from Hugendorn, but it was then here on the white line. You can see again on the paint there, marking the track limits. Lethal in these conditions. Great save by the Italian. This is for the lead. Coronel has caught up to Schaufler and he's gone past him. What a couple of laps for Coronel, new race leader.
Absolute phenomenal pace here for Rocco Coronel. Now takes the lead of this final. Devon Waltz sees a warning flag. He won't like that. But Schaufler also won't like this. He'll drop down to 2nd. Now, this may change the Virtual Championships just that little bit more now, but in the favour of potentially Van Langendonck. Not too sure. We'll see what happens, though, when they next cross the start-finish line. Mental maths at this point in the day is not my forte. As they go down in towards the final chicane, Coronel leading from Schaufler. But has Schaufler been saving something to try and close up back to this one? Because Coronel's just continued with this pace now as he pushes through. That's a purple 3rd sector Virtual Championship. It does change it. Schaufler goes over to lead. Van Langendonck now joint in 2nd, both with 88 points. So if Van Langendonck can close up to Schaufler, he would take the lead of the championship at the end of round 1.
He potentially will. He could do it with the fastest lap as well. At the moment, Rocco Coronel holds the extra championship point for setting the fastest lap of this race, but the times are coming down into the 1:08 8s, down into the 1:09 9s as well for those in the midfield. Lap 12, this one plus 6 more to go. Coronel, your new leader of the race, is faster through sector number 1, is driving away from Niklas Schaufler now. Dries Van Langendonck, similar pace to Schaufler through sector number 1 as well. Martinez also in the 17.7s. Hugendorn starting to get faster now once more. I tell you what, they need to keep an eye on Martinez. Martinez's pace in the infield section, that tricky sector 2 with all those tight corners, is really good right now. He's still got enough time that if he can get the other 2 sectors sorted and on the pace, or even beating the pace of the leaders, might not be out of this with 7 seconds in arrears. It's still a 1/3 of the race to go.
No, exactly that. There is still a long ways to go as another driver is out. Now, who is that's being collected? It looks like it's a Kart Republic suit with the blue helmet. There's a couple of karts off there. Is that Arjen Kraeling?
It is.
I think it is. Arjen Kraeling tumbling down the order. The so is Alfie Slater, but Slater has just crossed the start-finish line, so I think he's still in this race. But Arjen Kraeling from Germany is out. That is a big, big shock for the driver. He started on the 3rd row of the grid.
Yeah, it's been one of those weekends of what might have been for Arjen Kraeling, but you can take the positives that the race pace has been there. It's a long season, of course. We're on lap number 13 now. We're looking at the battle between the Ricky Flynn Motorsport teammates here, Sala and Kamyab. Not too far behind there is Nikita Nikishov in the blue kart, the VDK Racing entry. Daniel Kelleher has gained 17 places in this race. Another one of those drivers moving up through the order in these horrendous conditions now in Valencia. Into the chicane they go once more. I don't think we're going to see too much overtaking through this part of the course. That's probably the wettest and trickiest part of the circuit. Another new fastest lap from Coronel, 1 minute 8.2. Pushing along. Is he taking too many risks down the inside? Kelleher down the inside of Nikishov. Has Kelleher got the speed off of the corner? Yes, he has. Had to be a bit patient there, just for the gap to open to the right of Nikishov. Super driving by Kelleher. And that's going to be the Irishman up 10th.
But he just clouted that curb through turn 4, and unfortunately, as quick as he gains that position, he'll lose it again. He'll have to work a little bit harder, and now his teammate comes through, the number 63, Noah Baglin now down the inside, and he moves up another position now into P11. Well, race very quickly coming to a close here, and it's still Coronel who leads it. Schaufler from Van Langendonck, Martinez from Hugendorn, Craigie, Bolowski, Kamyab, Sala, Nikishov, Kelleher and Baglin, which is the battle that we're watching here. This is P11 and 12 on your screens here as the two teammates continue to battle away. You can see there Scott Lindblom just in the background with Boris Lies in tow in the 1-2-1. Down into that final chicane they go. There is Lindblom in that train. As the whole field goes through, again, big use of those curbs there. So many, it looks so painful for the drivers, but I'm sure they're not focused on that. They're just focused on getting these karts right to the end of this race, right that long way round turn number 1. Use of the dirty part of the track. They're really pushing these karts right to the ragged edge. But certainly, for all of our drivers, this has just been an absolute roller coaster of a race. I've got to say, driver of this final, I've got to give it to Kit Bolowski. P7 for him, 24 places gained. He's having a wicked race.
He is indeed. He seems back at home, having moved back to Fusion Motorsport for the start of the season. He's been back on form after a tough 2023. On lap number 15, Coronel continuing to extend that lead. Purple through sector number 1 and 1 minute 8.349. It's above 2 seconds now. It's almost at that level where you can start to breathe, but it's so slippery out there. You just got to keep in that rhythm right now, doing exactly what we've seen him do for the last 15 laps, keeping it consistent, keeping it fast, keeping an eye on Martinez as well. Still rapid in sector number 2. Probably a bit of a setup compromise here. Not so much in sectors 1 and 3, so the overall lap time, it's about the same as the race leader, staying at 7.5 seconds there. On your screens is Kit Bolowski, up 24 places, started 31st in this one, is up to P7. He's got a bit of a gap up to 6th place now, 4.5 seconds, but as you say, Anthony, this has been the Kit Bolowski of old, back in proper form here, and it's good to see.
Certainly is. Well, we're on lap 16. We're going on to lap 17. Your race leader here, Rocco Coronel in the 109. We were talking about him earlier on the start of this race. You know, P2 was his favourite place to be throughout the entirety of the weekend. He did have one qualifying heat win, but 5 of those were second place, and one of those was a third. It was looking like a dark horse on this one, you know, starting on the 3rd row of the grid, P5. He had the inside row, but his pace in these wet conditions has been absolutely phenomenal. The same can be said for this man here, Niklas Schaufler. A brilliant start to the race in this final, you know, taking the lead from that front row, second place on that outside row. But certainly, it was dominant in the superheat. He took the win in that one. He took many wins as well over the course of the qualifying heats. And again, just shown a real talent in the start of this season, and certainly is going to be a talent over the course of this season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Been performing fantastically so far. Not long in this one to go. We're on the penultimate lap of the final for OK Junior. Rocco Coronel, 3 seconds the lead now for the Dutchman. Threads his way through the final couple of corners to complete lap number 17, sees the last lap board. 1.4 kilometres away from victory. The first round of the 2024 edition of Champions of the Future. What a run this has been. Started 5th on the grid. We'll have learnt a lot from the superheat earlier. I think that's been the most impressive part of this performance, Anthony. He didn't look quite there in the wet conditions earlier on. It's wetter now, but he's taken to them. He's learnt a lot since the lunch break. Continuing on round, he's pulled out another 1/10 of a second over Schaufler in the first sector. Must be loving this right now. Through turn 12 he goes. Can almost waltz it to the line now. Through onto the back straight for the final time. Rocco Coronel for Victory Lane Karting, your race leader by 3.5 seconds now on this victory lap. It's just the chicane to go for the Dutch driver. 1, 2, 3, a super run. Rocco Coronel wins in Valencia and takes round 1 of Champions of the Future in the OK Junior category with a dominant performance in terrible conditions here in Spain. Second place goes to Niklas Schaufler. He takes the lead in the championship ahead of Dries Van Langendonck, who is third. In fact, both of them are tied on points at the top of the standings. Coronel will be third in those point standings on 85. But for Rocco Coronel, he has delivered here in this final after 18 laps. What a victory.
It certainly is. For the driver from the Netherlands, it is a superb victory. Rocco Coronel, who only sits now third in the championship with that win, but definitely with only 3 points behind your top two. Niklas Schaufler and Dries Van Langendonck who lead the championship, but it is Rocco Coronel who takes victory in Spain. They will make their way back to Parc Ferme now, where everything will of course be checked, all the results, of course provisional, until they are signed and authenticated. Coronel from Schaufler, Van Langendonck and Hugendorn, the top four. Craigie from Bolowski, Kamyab from Nikishov, it's Leisen and Kelleher, the top 10. Noah Baglin and Filippo Sala go round out the 11th and 12th place spots from Scott Lindblom. Sebastian Lehtimaki from Joel Pokela go 14th and 15th at the end of that one, some 35 seconds further down the road.
Yeah, it really shows the level of performance from those in the top 10. Very tricky conditions indeed. Rest of your finishers, Jarrett Clark 16th, Alfie Slater, a tough weekend for Slater there, finishes 17th. Drew Waltz, Arthur Wang and Bruno Grick complete the top 20. Florentine Hattemer in 21st was the last of those on the lead up. There was a late retirement, I think, for Jacopo Martinezzi, so what was a great run for Martinezzi up to that point at the end is a retirement in 23rd place. Also not seeing the checkered flag Devin Waltz, Christian Costoya, Arjen Kraeling, Efim Duranov, Thomas Pradier, Ile Christian, Bosco Arias, Vladimir Ivanikov, Kasper Reipold, Sebastian Mins, and drivers who didn't get around lap 1, Andrea Marni, Alex Martinez, Archie Lovatt. I think that list of names and how many of them were high up the grid just shows how tough it was out there for the drivers here in Valencia. A bit of an attritional race.
Very much so. There'll be a lengthy clean-up operation ahead of us now. There are so many karts stricken out on the circuit. Put it into context, we started this race with 36. Only 22 karts finished that race. In that meantime, let's take a look at some of the highlights from this one. The start was a busy one, but keep an eye on Niklas Schaufler, the driver who started on the outside, on the right-hand side of your screen then, in the orange kart, just sweeps now down in towards turn 1, wheel to wheel with Van Langendonck, the pole sitter on this one, waits for the gap, finds the gap, sends it through the gap, and got the race lead through turn number 1. When it gets to the next corner, though, this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting between the two drivers who started on the front row of the grid. Van Langendonck back down the inside, a little bit of contact here, and that squeezed Schaufler off the circuit. A little bit of damage, but Schaufler kept his foot in it there and got back onto the circuit, kept it down the inside as well, and held on to the lead, which was really, really impressive stuff. But despite the best efforts from Van Langendonck, he would try to get around the outside here and get the drive out of the corner. Just, I think, got pipped on that inside line by Christian Costoya, who tried to stop that line. But really dramatic stuff in the opening stages there.
Was indeed. There was an opportunity for Van Langendonck to go back down the inside of Schaufler there on lap 1. Schaufler, the first of a few drivers to skirt with the white painted line on the exit of turn number 8. Costoya had a bright start as well. A good battle with Rocco Coronel here, also on lap 1 for 3rd place. But Coronel would start to increase the pace as the race goes on. Start of lap number 2 into the lead. Niklas Schaufler down the inside went to Van Langendonck, but a beautiful switchback once again by Schaufler meant that he kept the lead of the race. Plenty of things going on further down the order as well. We'd already lost a number of drivers on that first lap. Christian, Arias, Ivanikov, Raipol, Mintz, Marnie, Martinet and Lovatt were all out of the race at this stage. Dean Hoogendoorn had a bright race, driving through the order. In the end would take 4th place, gaining 12 spots across the course of those 18 laps. This was an enjoyable battle that he had with Ricky Flynn Motorsport's Roman Kamyab. Roman Kamyab, who would in the end finish P7, take some championship points home with him back to England and the United Kingdom later on this week. Middle phase of the race, this is where Coronel really started to get into his stride. Picked his moment of finding a way past Dries Van Langendonck, who just wasn't quite at his brightest across the course of that final, and then set about trying to close into Rocco Coronel. Kit Malowski was also on the move here. What a star. 25 positions gained for Kit Malowski, top driver in Fusion Motorsport home in OK Junior this weekend. Martinez was also setting some very impressive times in the middle sector. Unfortunately wouldn't see the end of the race, but was running as high as 4th ahead of Dean Hoogendoorn, another driver nearly losing it there on the exit of turn number 8. Middle phase though, lap number 11, down the inside, Rocco Coronel took the lead from Niklas Schaufler. The question was, could Schaufler respond? The answer, no. Coronel simply drove off the front. Daniel Kelleher was another one to gain a lot of positions in that race. Beautiful switch back on Nikishov to get a position. In the end, would finish P10, a gain of 18 positions across the course of that race for the young Irish driver. Having a good battle as well with his teammate Noah Baglin. Baglin would in the end finish P11, but for Rocco Coronel, a massive victory. What a way to start his season it has been coming for Victory Lane Karting the last few weeks across their competitive series. But here in Champions of the Future, they will take the first win of the season, the first round.
Well, great to see our top 3 on that podium in the rain here at Valencia. Please welcome onto the podium James Geidel from RGRNC to present the 3rd place trophy to Dries Van Langendonck. Please welcome now onto the podium Lucas Guerrero from the circuit itself to present the 2nd place trophy to Niklas Schaufler. And finally, please welcome onto the podium Rod Danows from Maxi Tyres to present the 1st place trophy to Rocco Coronel. And not forgetting, of course, James Geidel back onto the podium to present the team's trophy to Vincent De Silva of Victory Lane. Those trophies nice and high up in the air for the photos, please, drivers. Trophies high up in the air. Big smiles for the photographers. Thank you so much. Trophies nice and high up in the air for us. And now let's bring on the champagne for the drivers. You can pop those trophies on. Vincent, feel free if you want to dip at this point. I'd recommend it. You don't want to get covered in champagne. Or do you want to get covered in champagne? It's up to you. 3, 2, 1, boys, are we ready? It's champagne! Well, brilliant stuff there for our top 3. Rocco Coronel, don't go anywhere. Let's have a quick chat with you. If you want to come down just off that top step, I would join you, but it's a bit slippy up there. Come down, join me on this side, Rocco. Well, brilliant stuff. The camera's just over here. Rocco, brilliant race for yourself there. Those conditions, absolutely terrible. But talk us about that race, because the start was a little bit exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was mostly a bit a mess at first, and then I just went and then just stayed behind. Costoya went from the outside, so I was before in the first corner. After I just followed a bit, overtake a bit, and eventually I was at Schaufler. I overtake him. He was for one lap behind me, and then I just started pushing, and then I was gone.
Yeah, certainly so, all the way throughout that one. You looked on point all the way throughout those ones. You don't lead the championship at the moment. You're there third, but still a very close championship. You're looking forward to going to France next?
Yes.
Excellent. That's what we're looking forward to. Well, Rocco Coronel, congratulations. Well done. Victory here in Spain in the rain.
Thank you.